Have you ever met the connector? Well, he ponders, he helps, he creates, he writes, he speaks. He basically connects people and brings them together. I speak about Paul Solano of PS and All Marketing Group. At psandallmarketinggroup.com, you will receive an assembled group of Paul's contacts and connections that cross into many sectors of life. Please contact Paul Solano at 617-240-4130 or psandallmarketinggroup@gmail.com if you are in the market for a wide array of services. Again, please contact The Connector, Paul Solano at 617-240-4130 or psandallmarketinggroup@gmail.com with any questions. And now, here's Paul Solano, the host of Paul Ponders.
Welcome to #Paul Ponders. I've really enjoyed bringing you fun, informative, intriguing, and pondering podcasts. Many thanks to #PodPro Entertainment. Today's collaborating sponsor, Scot Albertson of #Project142.org, Riverworks Credit Union, NMLS number 410564, and Remax Renaissance Realty of Reading. Thanks for listening, rating, reviewing, and subscribing. Let #Paul Ponders begin. Greetings, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well today. I just want to just take a moment just to thank my guest. His name is Scot Albertson from Project 142, and Scott is just a dear friend and just a great all-around guy, and I find him most fascinating, and he's always out there promoting the Paul Ponders brand on WATD 95.9 on Saturdays when I'm on the radio, but also part of this podcast as well, this podcast series. So I would now like to bring upon Scot Albertson.
Buenos dias, señor.
Buenos dias, mi amigo. ¿Cómo está usted?
Buenas noches. And by the way, I can't put the check in the mail tomorrow because it's Juneteenth, but I will put the check in Saturday morning for that introduction.
Oh, there's no need to, my friend. You mean the check's in the mail?
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. That's
Yeah.
good. Well, Scott, welcome back. You've
Thank
been
you.
on Paul Ponders so many times with Gotham Whale, with Paul C. Suerta, with Bob Hilberg, Paul C. Suerta, and it's just something. It's always a pleasure to have you on. We always talk about Project 142. We talk about Scot Albertson, Scott with one T, Albertson.com. We talk about all those great things you do, but really something that we've never really touched upon with Paul Ponders is basically your illustrious career and your adventures in the world of diving. 39 years, eh?
Just about 39 years, yep. And I've covered a lot of different corners of the globe, and it's all been on my own, meaning it's all been just the thirst of knowledge and the thirst of experience. And also, once you start diving, meaning scuba diving, it changes your whole perspective of life because you see life in a whole different platform and a whole different milieu, if you will, and you see nature in its raw stage. It's like being in an aquarium and being outside looking in, but the difference is now because you're diving, you're inside and now you're part of it, as opposed to being outside looking in.
Interesting. So where are some of the places you have gone diving?
I've been to Australia in 2 different trips. I've been to Fiji in 2 different trips, which is really my favorite of all the places I've been, because Fiji is known as the soft coral capital of the world. And the difference between soft corals and hard corals is if you think of, for example, like Florida and the Caribbean, and you see a lot of videos because it's closer to us in proximity than, say, certainly Fiji or Australia. And if you look at a lot of the video footage, you'll see hard coral substrate, meaning it looks like rock, basically. there'll be some different colorations because of different species of corals on it, but it'll look hard. It'll look like rock. It'll look like hard coral. Whereas when you're in a few places around the world, like Fiji, for example, and some of the places in Micronesia, it's this profusion of color. And the way that I described it is that it's an underwater botanical garden, but it's actually under the water. And it's this profusion of life and profusion of color. It's bright yellows and reds and greens and blues, orange. I mean, and it just blows your mind. And it's a carpet of color.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Now, Scott, when you in fact have your weekly Project 142 dedication around the nation show, you often show many, many pictures, and you of course sing songs, and you just show so many wonderful pictures. I am totally amazed at, you're right, the brightness of those colors that you portray.
Right, because what happens when you have the soft corals like that, it creates a whole nother community. And that community is it's a profusion of life with crabs and little fishes and little plankton and little lobsters, and it becomes this whole universe within a small universe. And a lot of times, for me personally, as an underwater photographer, I love shooting macro photography. Now, macro photography is when you take pictures of small little areas, and when you put them on the screen, it makes it look huge. And it's called macro photography. So for me, when I shoot that, it's incredible to see the not only the colors, but the diversity of life. And a lot of these critters are smaller than your pinky fingernail. So
Wow.
most people don't see them, and most divers, when they dive, they have this penchant, which is fine. Again, that's their prerogative, that's their perspective. It's their dime, so to speak, on what they're sucking oxygen while they're swimming in the water doing a dive. But most of them wanna see 5 miles of reef in 5 minutes. They just wanna get in the water, they wanna cruise, they wanna see the pelagics, they wanna see sharks, rays, and all that kind of thing, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you just stay put, if you will, using that phrase, stop and smell the roses. So in this particular case, if you stop and just plant your butt in a very small area on the bottom of the ocean, and you just sit there and just tune in. It's almost like Chevy Chase in Caddyshack when he's just like, "No, no, 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 go be the ball." So
Hmm.
it's really this idea that you become one with that little sub-universe that's right under your nose, and if you tune into it, it's incredible what you'll see. These really small, small little fish and these small little crustaceans and again, this beautiful carpet of color underneath the water, and it's bright. It's absolutely bright. There's one vivid memory I have. We were doing a night dive in Fiji, and I love night diving. I shoot my best favorite shots on a night dive. And we were down about 40, 50 feet, and I flipped around, and the water is gin clear, and I put my tank on the sand on the bottom of the ocean, and I just crossed my arms, and I just laid prone on the bottom on the sand, and I looked up at the water at the full moon as the full moon rays permeated the water and lit up the water.
Wow. That is
Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely
absolutely.
stunning, stunning.
Oh,
Just think of a full moon when you're walking around on land, and then
yep.
now put yourself on in the water and experiencing now the full moon in a different dimension. And then, of course, you've got the sound that goes on as well. You've got there's little critters called snapping shrimp, and it sounds like cellophane in the water because they're snapping all the time underneath the water, and that's how they do what they do, and they eat and talk to other shrimp, and they're always snapping, but it sounds like somebody takes cellophane and they're crumbling it, and it's like happening all the time.
Wow.
And so you've got that going on, and you've got some other critters that are talking while they're doing their thing. And so it's not just the visual, but it's the aural, and it's also you're surrounded now, you're in the bosom of the ocean, if you will. You're in the uterus of the ocean, if I can use that term. And so now you're surrounded by being bathed in this water that's like, 80 degrees, whatever the case may be. And you have this profusion of life that's going on. And you're just looking up and you've got the full moon that's really cutting right through the water, even at a depth of 40, 50, 60 feet. And it lights up the ocean.
That is amazing, amazing. It's funny, and I really haven't shared this with you about my dear friend, and I believe you've met James Norris,
Yes, I
who
have.
is, yes, you have indeed. I believe you met him at Pearl Street Station Restaurant
I
up in
did.
Malden. And James, as you know, is an author, and I've helped him with the 4 books that he's written, because the fourth book just recently came out, and that's called Feeling Free Below the Sea. And it's a story about big moves, big dreams, and even bigger adventures. And James pretty much just moved his operations to Handicapable Fitness down in the Florida Keys. He's living down there right now, and he completed this children's book. And he was telling me the other day about just what a wonderful feeling of freedom he has when he does the diving down in the Florida Keys. And we'll be hearing more about James Norris and his book in a future podcast. But Scott, have you ever been down to the Florida Keys?
I've not been to the Keys. I've been to Florida. I've been to many of the islands in the Caribbean. I've been off the Sea of Cortez, which is between the Baja Peninsula of Mexico and certainly Mexico mainland, which again was a profusion of life. I mean, that was like a mind blower. I've dove off of British Columbia, and I've done certainly California, and I've been to Hawaii 4 different trips, and I did a lot of diving off of Hawaii. So, and I've certainly done a lot of diving off of Long Island Sound. One of my favorite dives in Long Island Sound, it's a little more towards my end as opposed to being up you, but there's a place right across Connecticut, and it's called Crane's Neck Beach, and it's on the north side of Long Island. It's not very deep. It's only about 25 feet deep, and you have to go at what they call slack tide, meaning the tide's not going in, the tide's not going out. It's about 30 minutes, 40 minutes when you either reach peak high tide or peak low tide, and you don't have a current at that point. So you have to go into this particular dive at slack current. And when you go in, I've actually gone down because it's notorious for oyster toadfish because they're bottom dwellers, and you go down, and at this time of year is when they're mating, and it becomes a cacophony of oyster toadfish mating, and it actually becomes too much for your ears because I get into a bed of them, it's like, "Brr, brr, brr." That's why they're called oyster toadfish, because they literally croak under the water. They're mating.
Hmm.
And it's
Wow.
absolutely incredible that you get down and, like, you get down to the bottom and the sound is deafening. It's really, really incredible, and they're ugly guys. I mean, they look like Edward G. Robinson. They got these big lips, and they got this funky stuff hanging off them because they blend in as a bottom dweller, so they blend in with the seaweed and all that kinda thing. But that's the whole point is it's just we have only, as a human species, have only scratched the surface of what's underneath the waves. And there's so much more to learn. There's so much more to experience. There's so much more to enlighten people so they understand that it's so critical. And that's why I talk about it a lot. You watch every episode and you leave comments each time on YouTube. And I thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Muchas gracias, Senor, for doing that. But that's why
De
I talk
nada, mi
about
amigo.
yeah, it's why I talk about recycling so much and talk about respecting the environment and picking stuff up and finding the proper place for it to go, because it all eventually affects, one way or another, our watershed, and it ends up in rivers, streams, ponds, lakes, estuaries like Long Island Sound, certainly the ocean eventually. And we're seeing it because now there's this profusion of plastic that has become known to the common person that's in the ocean. I mean, there's legit scientific how I say, research out there, there's the word, that if we don't stem what we're doing, by 2050, there's gonna be more plastic in the ocean than there are fish.
Oh my. Wow.
Right. So that
Wow.
just
That is
tells you.
scary.
Yes, it is, and that just tells you why it's so, so important. Look, you and I, we're the old farts now, right? We're the old guys on the end of the life spectrum here now. So whatever we do is not gonna really directly affect us, but it's for the environment, it's for the kids coming up. It's for the generation like Paul Siswerde, his kids. It's for them because if they don't have that chance to experience, for example, what I've seen and what we've been talking about in the last 10 or so minutes, they're gonna lose out. They're gonna lose out big time, and they'll never know. And that's why it's so critical that people even just entertain the idea of just changing their behavior just a little bit. It doesn't have to, it doesn't have to hit you in the pocket. Just pick up something. Just do something a little different. Make sure something gets recycled. Wash it out before you throw it in the recycle container.
Mm.
It all makes a difference, and that's the critical part here.
Wow, that is so, so true. So our actions really do have, if you excuse the analogy, have a rippling effect on what our future has in store, correct?
No question. No question. And that's why I talk about it, as you were kind enough to point it out, about in the video series is periodically I'll have a underwater photo from where I've been diving over the years, and I'll share with people what I've learned and what I've seen. Matter of fact, there's one that I saw today online that I'm gonna include for next week's video, and it was taken yesterday off of Hawaii, and it was a regular tourists going out on a boat, not so much looking for whales, but looking just for going out and looking to find what they were having to see. And these people were getting ready to go into the ocean, and what showed up but a whale shark,
Mm.
unexpected, and the people freaked. They were absolutely freaking. They're like, "Wow, look at that! Look at!" And whale sharks are, they're gigantic. I've seen whale sharks up close and personal. The biggest whale shark, full adult size, will be about 60 feet.
Oh my.
Yeah, but they're planktonic eaters. They're not gonna bother you, they're not gonna, take your leg off, they're not gonna take your face off, they're not gonna inhale you if you're in the water, but they're very docile. But they're absolutely mammoth, and they're beautiful, and they're the biggest fish in the ocean. They are really the biggest fish in the ocean. Not a whale is a mammal, so that's a little different, but they're the biggest fish in the ocean, yeah.
Wow, that is incredible. Well, Scott, as we start to wind down, we really haven't even scraped the surface on another aspect of your career. So, how about if we have you back for a future episode talking about your incredible law enforcement career? How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds terrific, absolutely.
Yeah,
I got a lot of stories, man.
absolutely, absolutely. So, I guess we'll have some bigger fish to fry down the
Abso
road, eh?
absolutely.
Just for the hell of it, we'll do that, okay?
Oh, bo
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. So on that note, I'll clam up right now, all right, Scott? And why don't you tell our listeners in Paul Ponder's land how they're able to reach you?
So Project 142 is www.project142.org, the website. My personal website is Scot Albertson, as you will very kindly say every time you talk about it. It's Scott, SCOT, one T only, scotalbertson.com. And the name of the video series, which we just started our 7th year anniversary episodes in the beginning of May, is Around the Nation. And it's on YouTube. And it's also clearly gets marketed on Facebook and LinkedIn big time.
And of course, I always give that shout out to Techie Talonzo, but I want you to give a shout out to your incredible producer,
Oh, you mean Lemon Bob? You're
Lemon Bob.
Yeah, you're talking about Chip.
Chip, yes.
Yeah, yeah. You're talking about Lemon Bob, yeah. Yeah, Lemon Bob. Yeah, Lemon Bob. Chip Fabrizi is the owner of PPI Recording Studio in New York City. It is now New York City's oldest operating studio in the city of 48 years.
Wow. Wow.
Yep,
And you actually go from your home in Connecticut to New York once a week and record at PPR Recording Studio, correct?
I do. And I typically, with that whole idea of the environment, I typically do shoe leather express when I go, meaning I walk and I take the train. So by the time that I get home, because I'm in Waterbury, Connecticut, I walk 14 miles and then take a couple of trains.
Wow.
Yep.
That
Keeps me
is
going.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's why you look so young and act so young, my friend. And of course, 39 years of scuba diving and underwater photography has really added to your life with that healthy living.
Oh, absolutely.
Scott
No
Al
question about that.
Absolutely. Scott Albertson, 1T, ScotAlbertson.com, Project 142. I want to thank you for being on, my friend, but most importantly, I want to thank you for being a dear friend and just continue being who you are. And we love you, and you're an awesome, awesome person.
Yeah, same thing, Paul. Same thing back to you. And as Paul C. Swear would say, our very dear friend, keep doing you.
Absolutely. And with that, we're going to say hashtag indeed.
Hasta luego.
Hasta la vista, babe.
Thank you, Paul.
I trust that you have enjoyed hashtag Paul Ponders. Again, my name is Paul Solano of PS&All Marketing Group, and I may be reached via email at paul@paulponders.com to do some more pondering. Many thanks to my longtime collaborative friend and associate, Alonzo Amos of Pod Pro Entertainment, in bringing you our fun, exciting, and informative podcasts. You rock, Techie Alonzo. With PS&All Marketing Group, I created a side gig to connect you and get things done. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me at paul@paulponders.com with any questions. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Paul Ponders. Follow us on Twitter at Paul Ponders Pod. Follow us on Instagram at Paul Ponders Podcast. Thank you again for listening to hashtag Paul Ponders, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our website, paulponders.com, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your ratings and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by Pod Pro Entertainment, hashtag Paul Ponders lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com, hashtag the new radio. Until we meet again, my friend, stay well, hashtag indeed.